Good morning and welcome home to the Monte Vista Unitarian Universalist congregation. Whether you are a visitor or you've been away from here a day, a week, a month, a year, or even longer, I hope you have that feeling of returning to a place that welcomes you. Announcements. Put in your 2 cents. After service today in the Founders Room, on Zoom next Tuesday instead of Taco Tuesday, next Thursday here in the sanctuary at 6 p.m. before choir practice, and Saturday at 10 a.m. after yoga class. There will be the focus groups to work on deciding what's important to each of us about this community and ordering them and sorting them so that we can find a way to structure ourselves to make it all work. April 21st to the 23rd in San Luis Obispo is the PSW, Pacific Southwest service area. Apparently, it's a replacement for the district, just without administration. There'll be a gathering, annual gathering, and it's sponsored by Kemp de Benneville Pines. It will be their annual meeting. See our Thursday announcements for details. Our Leadership Development Committee is looking for those who wish to serve. Starting July 1st, we need a vice president for the Board of Trustees and a secretary for the Board of Trustees. And the RE Council has 2 openings, and our safe congregation pool needs 4 members. Oh, it's the bus backing up, not feedback. And reminder, it's not too late to help with the Inland Valley Hope Partners Super Bowl Sunday. If you remember, for Super Bowl, S-O-U-P-E-R, they collect food and money for the Beta Center Food Pantry, which we have supported for many, many, many years. 2 more things. In July, there's, in the planning stages, is a congregational trip to the Philippines to visit our partnership church. Contact Julie Steinbach for information. And beginning March 19th, our annual membership renewal and stewardship drive will begin. And you'll find out more about keeping your membership current and pledging to help us budget for the next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen, and hello, everyone. Hello to those who are joining us on Zoom. We have 17 households connected to us tonight. Yeah, very nice. To open our service, oh, and also Sophie's joining today. She'll be with us until yeah, she's one of our new members, yes, yeah. But she's just been alone too long lately, and we all know how that feels. What do we do when we're alone too long? We come to Monte Vista, right? So Sophie did the same thing. Here it is. To open our service, we ring the bowl 3 times. Once for those who came before, who remind us gently that Black history did not begin with slavery. We ring it once for those who are making history now, declaring that Black lives matter, and they always have. And once for those who will come, may we work as one to create a future that is racially just. I invite you to stand as your body allows and your spirit nourishes you to do so. We're going to sing our opening song, number 389 in the hymnal, Gathered Here. Twice through. Our opening words come from, anonymous, sorry. But they say, from our hymnal actually, it says, may we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery, in miracle, to the universe, to this community, and to each other. And our chalice lighting words for this morning. Do you want to read those, Ellen? You want to read the chalice lighting words? Here, do you want to read the word? Okay.
Oh, did you want me to?
We have a new lighter. Just
Newfangled.
new, wonderful. Just push that black button. Sparks.
And now I do it?
Yep. Hold it right down there. There you go. Oh, wow, right? And then just slide it over. Yes, just tiny knives.
I got some of those.
No, just
All these newfangled things.
well, that's for the children. We don't have a flame.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And our words are written by Christine Robinson. She writes, in our time of grief, we light a flame of sharing, the flame of ongoing life. In this time when we search for understanding and serenity in the face of loss, we light this sign of our quest for truth, meaning, and community. On our UUA website, there's a connection you can make to someone who's written commentary for most of the songs in our hymnal, and it's called farfringe.com. It's pretty great. He wrote on there about Carolyn McDade's song, Spirit of Life. And he talks about how she purposefully wrote that as a personal prayer for individuals. But when we sing it together on Sunday, we sing it more as an invocation, right? We're inviting the Spirit of Life to come and join us here in our sanctuary on Sunday morning. So we wondered what if we did sing it from a plural perspective. We tried it a couple weeks ago. But what do we imagine can happen when we make Spirit of Life a collective prayer, a communal invocation that we can sing together? So we changed the lyrics just a bit, and I think Jarius has the new ones up there. Thanks, Jarius. So I invite you to stand and sing out as we sing the plural version in English, and then we'll go back to the Spanish version that we're accustomed to.
Ooh.
printed in your order of service and maybe even memorized by a few of us by now, we'll speak the covenant that we read each week to each other. Here it is. We affirm that love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve the world in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other. I'd like to invite Robert Tidwell up and any young ones that are here with you. Come and get the children's chalice. And if I could give you guys Sophie, that would be wonderful too. Our offering message today is inspired by the UUA resource, The Offering as a Pastoral Ministry by Victoria Weinstein. She writes, every week, as an element of our Sunday service liturgy, we take up an offering. It's good to remind ourselves from time to time that the offering is symbolic as well as practical. We know that it is through pledges that we will build our budget and fund our yearly programs and ministries of worship and religious education. Our budget pays for our staff, our professional religious leaders, and finances, also the care of our campus. While some choose to have their pledges sent in electronically or as an automatic payment, we take time during our worship service to offer a community expression of support to visibly bring our gifts forward at this most cherished hour of our week. By taking the time to gather our offering, we're embracing a ritual that says that our giving is an essential part of our spiritual well-being. While we listen to Lily's beautiful offertory, I invite those that are here in the sanctuary to please come forward and leave your financial gifts to the congregation and your non-perishable gifts for the Beta Center at the Inland Valley Hope Partners to our altar. And it is with deep gratitude for the many, many, many gifts of this community that the offering will now be given and received. Another enjoyable piece of our Sunday liturgy that we've always clung to, even when there was a lot of yes and no and problems with expressing our joys and concerns during worship. We kind of rode that roller coaster. But I love this part of our service. We have these, for those that are here for the first time or maybe just visiting, I'll share that we have these little yellow joys and concerns that you can pick up at the greeter's station when you come in to write something on that you want to share with the congregation. I have a couple that have come in to me during the week and a few that were my own personal ones that I'll share with you that we can join in together. But first, I'd like to mention that we send our love and compassion to Brian and Kyle Bennett today, who would love to be here, but they're hopefully resting after a beautiful memorial service for Colleen Bennett here yesterday. Many of us were there, and thank you to everyone that came and supported the family. It was just a beautiful, beautiful memorial in her honor. We left the flowers from the ritual up front too, so we can enjoy those this morning. This one comes from Jack Wiedner. Thank you, Jack. Jack writes, "My cousin, who's been going through a very rough time, is finally getting the help she needs." That's great. That's great. Keep her in our thoughts and send her lots of support for that journey. What I should have mentioned, too, about Colleen is that part of the service was her celebrating her appreciation of hippopotamuses, or hippopotami. Do we have an English teacher here? I'm sure we do. Hippopotami? Is that it? So I brought this little guy up. He's like a little beanbag made out of leather or vinyl or something. Isn't he cute? I'll just set him here. I don't know. Rev Ellen wants this company, but he's there. Yeah. Some of the other things that are going on. Today's a very special day for another member of our congregation who is hosting a very large memorial for her husband who worked for the LA Times. It's Lindy Drabelvis. Her husband, Jack, she calls him Hank, sorry. Hank Furman, he was one of the editors at the LA Times, and he passed away from very quickly after a diagnosis from cancer. But Lindy has been coming to the grief group regularly, and she shared that today is the day they're having the memorial for him. So we loved her up and made her strong for today, I think. But I do ask that we all keep her, too, in our hearts as we walk through this day. Very different than the experience she's having. And our beloved Catherine. Catherine was supposed to be your worship host for this morning, but she was unable to be here. She's caring for her sister. I'm not sure if she's viewing us on Zoom. It could be, but I just ask, too, that we all send Catherine extra love. She's had so much loss this past week of her beloved furry companions. She lost two. Her beloved Murray, the cat, wasn't able, and then Bunny died suddenly as well. So Catherine's really, so let's just hold Catherine in our hearts. And I will light our flame of hope and witness on behalf of President Jimmy Carter and his family as he enters hospice care in his home. And what a beautiful man and what a beautiful life. This morning, our pastoral prayer is adapted from the prayer of Shanti Deva, an 8th century Buddhist monk and major source of inspiration to the Dalai Lama, who references the original prayer often. May we be a guard for those who need protection. May we seek protection, and may we find it and share it. For those who wish to cross a further shore, may we be a boat, a raft, a bridge. May we be open to the companionship of others as we make our way to the places that are still before us. May we be a lamp in the darkness for all who seek it. May that light be never extinguished from our own sight and from our own hearts. May we be a resting place for the weary and be healing medicine for all who are sick. May we welcome the salve that others offer us for our own afflictions, whether of the body, the mind, or the heart. And where others see scarcity, may we see a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles. As part of the boundless multitudes of living beings, may we bring sustenance and awakening, freedom from sorrow, and may we delight in our common existence, holding most tenderly with those with broken hearts, let us sit together in stillness now as we breathe together during this moment of shared silence. For those who have a hymnal, I invite you to turn to reading number 530, and we'll do a responsive reading together. It's titled Out of the Stars, written by Robert T. Weston. Out of the stars in their flight, out of the dust of eternity, here have we come. Stardust and sunlight mingling through time and through space.
Out of the stars have we come, up from time. Out of the stars have we come.
Time out of time before time in the vastness of space, Earth spun to orbit the sun. Earth with the thunder of mountains newborn, the boiling of seas.
Earth warmed by sun, lit by sunlight. This is our home. Out of the stars have we come.
Mystery hidden in mystery, back through all time. Mystery rising from rocks in the storm and the sea.
Out of the stars, rising from rocks and the sea, kindled by sunlight on earth, arose life.
Ponder this thing in your heart. Ponder with awe. Out of the sea to the land, out of the shallows came ferns.
Out of the sea to the land, up from darkness to light, rising to walk and to fly. Out of the sea trembled life.
Ponder this thing in your heart. Life up from sea. Eyes to behold, throats to sing, mates to love.
Life from the sea, warmed by the sun, washed by rain. Life from within, giving birth, rose to love.
And this is the wonder of time. This is the marvel of space. Out of the stars swung the earth. Life upon earth rose to love.
This is the marvel of life, rising
To see and know. Out of your heart cry wonder. Sing that we live.
Good morning. Most of the time I select music for a reason, and usually I don't specify the reason because I let the music speak for itself. But today I wanted to tell you why I chose the song that we're about to sing, Old Time Religion, because it doesn't seem to fit with the theme of Darwin. But our wonderful Dick Olson, for all of you that remember him, was a choir member and one of the best speakers that I've ever met. He did a talk on Darwin a few years back, and he specifically requested that we sing Old Time Religion. I think with his sense of humor, he liked the contrast. He also loved spirituals, which kind of ties in with Black History Month. So that's the reason for singing Old Time Religion today. And also just quickly want to say how wonderful it is to have Maddie back and sounding as wonderful as always. And so excited to have Joe Reguio back with us. Yay! And also, of course, always great to have April here. So anyway, so enjoy Old Time Religion and think of Dick Olson.
me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me.
Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. Makes me love everybody. Makes me love everybody. Makes me love everybody. It's good enough for me. It's me, oh Lord, I'm standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, I'm standing in the need of prayer. Not my father, not my mother, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer.
Pastor or my brother, but it's me, oh Lord.
Standing in the need of prayer. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me. Gonna lay down my burdens down by the riverside. Down by the riverside. Down by the riverside, gonna lay down my burdens. Down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Study war no more.
I got a home in glory land that
Outshines the sun.
I got a home in glory land that
Outshines the sun.
I got a home in glory land that
Outshines the sun. Look away beyond the blue. Do Lord, do remember me. Do Lord, do remember me. Do Lord, do remember me. Look away beyond the blue. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for
Why did you praise me all night singing, church was ringing, glory, hallelujah, that
Give me that old time religion.
Oh, wow, you guys rock. You can sing that song anytime, as far as I'm concerned. Good morning, everyone. I'm Ellen Livingston, who's got religion now. Finally. And good morning to all you highly evolved two-legged mammals. And happy birthday to our fellow Unitarian, Charles Darwin. He was born in Shrewsbury, England, on last Sunday, on February 12th, 1809. The fifth of 6 children, he grew up in a well-to-do family. His grandfather, Erasmus Darsman, praised concepts of evolution and common descent back then. Both sides of his family were Unitarian, although baby Charles was baptized by some relative in the Anglican Church. He and his siblings attending the local Unitarian church with their mother, whose father was named Westwood and was a Unitarian minister. So be that as it may, to study Darwin's life is to study our spiritual ancestor, whose being changed the course of not only scientific history, but also, as we know, who we are today as human beings. Yes, he was controversial. I like the story about what happened after he announced the possibility that we were related to apes and monkeys. It brought about the anger and derision of millions around the world. When the wife of the Bishop of Worcester heard the news, she exclaimed, "Descended from apes? Let's hope it isn't true. But if it is, let us pray that it will not become generally known." Well, she was wrong. Without Darwin's evolution revolution, our religious movement would certainly be different. He was, like us, bold and determined to search for truth, no matter how revolutionary. And the rumors that he converted to Christianity on his deathbed have been soundly dismissed by the historians. Happy 214th birthday, Brother Charles. As you know, a Unitarian Universalist sermon is not a lecture, and I am not a scientist. So I'm going to be so bold as to address what I personally consider a miracle. The miracle is, of course, evolution. I believe it is the most powerful idea in the history of all that is. And that notion will never, never, ever go away. What I am aiming to do today is to get us pondering life up from the sea and the sweep and force of a constantly changing, evolving universe. To me, evolution is as much of a miracle as the Bible version of creation. And we still have a place in its past, present, and future. I call on a scientist and poet, Lauren Isley, to help me with this. I hope that there is not anyone here today who is offended by the idea that you and I are remote descendants of the snout. That was a freshwater fish with a long nose that could breathe air. Isley describes him or her as a strange creature, nuzzling the bottom ooze 3 million years ago. It could walk in the water on the stubs of fins. In that bottom ooze, that place of low life, a fish failed as a fish and came ashore. It was a creature like the snout. It was from that creature that our brains developed 2 hemispheres, leading to the human brain of present times, and thus commenced 3 million years of evolution that made us who we are today, for better or worse. Lauren Isley tells us in his book, The Immense Journey, and I really like this, there are things down there still coming ashore. Nature is still busy with experiments, still dynamic and not through or satisfied because a Devonian fish managed to end up as the 2-legged character with a straw hat. there are other things brewing and growing in that oceanic vat. It pays to know this. It pays to know that there is just as much future as there is past. We know that there are beings down there still coming ashore, like fish in a tidal creek of northern Australia that are climbing mangrove bushes instead of staying in the water where they belong. Life is just not determined for all eternity, especially the possibilities of us humans. But much of human behavior from now on is going to have to take into consideration the evolutionary equipment we were born with, and how we humans can adapt our behavior to achieve a more humane world. The burning questions before us today are not only those of microbiology and DNA, which of course our friend Darwin did not have access to in his time. They will help to unlock the secrets of life, but also the philosophy of human behavior. We are presented with the following enigmas. Are we humans just evolved animals? Are we just selfish competitors? Are we just temporary survivors for a few moments in history because of luck, genetics, or ruthless behavior? Some evolutionary theorists, sometimes called the neo-Darwinists, would tell us we are here today only because our ancestors fought for and won the scarce resources like food, education, location, mates, child raising. I can understand why they believe that. Sometimes we human, or Homo sapiens, just ain't that smart. We are sometimes stuck in wild animal fight or flight responses. Why, after centuries of experience and so-called civilization, do we still regress to screeching and scratching and shooting at each other? Why? And yet, if you look back over a long enough time span, you certainly see that most individuals now are much more evolved socially than they were 5,000 years ago. This was when anybody who was not your own kind was thought of as not being human. We know that. And individuals did not differ from each other in terms of barbarous responses to small indignities. To come to any reasonable conclusions as to whether we humans have evolved at all, we have to look at the innate condition of being human. After all, we are all born, each of us with archaic equipment, not so much different from other beasts, equipment that the human organism developed hundreds of thousands of years ago. Our reptilian and mammalian brains were once very necessary to our survival in desert and jungle. Our autonomic nervous systems and the emotion-controlling centers in the midbrain, sometimes called the limbic brain, reflect the fact that they were developed at a very hundreds of thousands of years ago. They were developed at a time when conditions were much, much harder than they are today. In the jungle, the appropriate responses to very real dangers all around were to fight or fly away, to leap, bristle, bite, or flee for your life. For the most part, although few of us live in the jungle anymore, it often appears our most dire expectations are still very similar to those of the distant past. Yes, life is often hard, people obstinate, and if we are to be winners, others need to be forced to our will. The possibilities of altruism, social concern, or forgiveness are not very often reported in the newspapers or television or the movies, alas. Violence happens. From another front, though, comes this news. Team players are winners. Altruism does pay. Instead of the survival of the fittest rule, where the strong survive at the expense of the weak, consider again this possibility. Creatures who collaborate in order to reach mutual goals are the ones who live on and even thrive. We creatures who work together are the ones who may conquer the world. May conquer the world for the common good. According to many evolutionary and social biologists, where evolution is concerned, there is a possibility that selflessness wins over selfishness. Good can conquer evil. Cooperation happens. This possibility, this shift in the way we look at evolutionary behavior, is even reflected in our brains' structures. We humans have also developed prefrontal lobes with their capacity for empathic understanding, for dreaming of the possible, along with deep connections to our earlier knowing. This part of our brain allows reasonable responses, forgiveness, caring for each other in a cooperative way. It becomes a part of our continuing existence on this planet. In fact, psychologist Jean Houston calls this frontal part of our brain here our angel brain. What will be the next stage? We are living in a time right now where we can see the greatest possibilities for change in the world has ever known, especially if you look at where technology is taking us. We humans have the power to make many of the long-time dreams come true. We also have the power to destroy the world. Perhaps not back to the primal soup, but certainly back to the Stone Age. We also are snouts that have come ashore with the power eventually to save the world and set it on the path to harmony and positive development. My reading on our evolutionary destiny provides us with this reality concerning our faith. Ever since Darwin first published The Origin of Species in 1859, containing his revolutionary ideas on evolution, we religious liberals have turned away from the omniscient creator. We have evolved more and more to the Darwinian camp, along with the other explanations of natural selection. In fact, his theories helped to make us religious liberals who we are today. Guess what? We two-legged ones are not descended from Adam and Eve after all. Therefore, we are not chosen among all the other animals to be special, even though the Orthodox Christians of that day preached that absolutely and fundamentally. They still do. as they try to pull our children into their regressive, dogmatic tent. We are simply the most highly evolved animal that natural selection has produced so far. We are, as our first principles say, persons of worth and dignity, each of us, precisely because of what we have created and continue to create. Art, music, literature, architecture, the United States Constitution, and liberal ideas like ours that support love, justice, democracy, and ethical living. We religious freethinkers now seek to understand ourselves in relationship to our evolved biological origins, rather than in relationship to any supernatural beings out there. We are reverent toward nature because we know we exist in that interdependent web of all life. Here is one reason why so many UUs are naturalists as opposed to supernaturalists. Kinship of all living organisms leads us to regard all human beings, all beings, as one extended family, away from the supernatural to nature itself. For that we are unique among the world's religions. Plus, I happen to believe that we humans have a yearning for religious faith. It is the most powerful force, I think, in our collective minds. We can be humanists and non-believers and still experience a sense of wonder. We can be atheists and agnostics even, and still have an urge to express gratitude, to enjoy mystical experiences, to work for the common good, with no thought of rewards in the hereafter, or worrying about burning in hell. We can still yearn to make some sense or meaning in life, in suffering, and yes, in death. It's a grand story based on scientific discovery, but also a story that reveres how awesome is the universe. There are many levels. Stars create atoms, atoms create substances like the oxygen we breathe. Human cultures create art, religion, technology. The highest level is what we may call God, Jehovah, Allah, source of life, ultimate reality, the universe, the cosmic muffin, or whatever name describes the highest creative reality to you. I do not believe we were plunked down here by a puppeteer stationed out there to pull strings. I personally also like to think our existence is not a meaningless evolutionary fluke. The basic elements that make up our bodies, carbon, calcium, iron, were forged inside the supernovas. We are, in fact, stardust, as our reading described. We are intimately related to the universe. As the early 20th century British biologist Julian Huxley put it, we are the universe becoming conscious of itself. We humans are the consciousness and the conscience of the universe now. Thus, we are presented with an opportunity and a choice. For thousands of years, evolution was a slow biological process. Now, with all of our experience and technological power at our hands, we have become an evolutionary force within ourselves. As Joni Mitchell put it in her song back at Woodstock, we are stardust. We are golden. And we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. We are reworked stardust, stardust that became all that is in the cosmos. We have a role in the past, present, and now the future. Yes, things are still coming ashore with gradually increasing complexity. They too will be part of this grand story. What we came from matters. Who we are at this moment matters. Our integrity, discoveries, choices still matter. I chose to speak about this to you today because I take your life and mine and the future of a living being seriously. You will discover in this season into spring the mysterious and beautiful opportunities in your lives. We are Earth's meaning makers, learning to interconnect on a planetary scale. Carl Sagan reminds us, we are the local embodiment of a cosmos grown to self-awareness. We speak for the Earth. Star stuff, pondering the stars. Organized assemblages of billions upon billions of atoms, considering the evolution of atoms. According to this great story, that's what we are, a planetary force that is polluting and overheating the planet and causing mass extinction, but at the same time a unique and valuable voice on this swiftly turning blue boat home called the Earth. Yes. After millions of years of natural selection that operated blindly and randomly, evolution has produced this piece of work called humankind. 450 years ago, a pre-Darwinist playwright named Shakespeare described who we were in his day, and we still are. He says, "What a piece of work is man and woman, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form and moving, how express and admirable. In action, how like an angel. In apprehension, how like a god." So now we are capable of changing the direction of evolution itself. To call on what even President Lincoln called our better angels, our better nature. We are an infinite piece of work that can choose to be noble in reason, in action like an angel, to alter our lives to be on the side of life. Like the first fish that set out across a dried up tide flat in quest of a better pool, we have so far to go, but there is a difference between us and the snout, a big one. We now have an aware, conscious mind that can make decisions, conscious decisions, to make of this earth a garden, starting in our own lives, right here and now. The choice is always ours. So let us go together into that sweet land of silence. Spirit of creation, may we rejoice in our blessings with wonder and gratitude. May we be awake to our part in the history of evolution, conscious of our evolved brain's abilities to choose cooperation, understanding, and love. And may we help each other to choose justice and joy, compassion and love. Shalom, salam, amen. Blessed be.
You did. Beautiful. Sure. I invite you now to stand as we sing about that blue boat home that our Reverend Ellen mentioned to us. I know we all were singing it perhaps in our in hopes to see it happen here. Let's sing it loud. As I extinguish chalice to the words of Elizabeth Zell Jones, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. The benediction? You want to do the benediction?
What do I have to do with it? Let us go in peace, be makers of peace, and rejoice in this beautiful blue boat home.